Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Central YouTube channel for tonight's very, very special interview. We might break the internet with this one. This one is going to be historic. It's record-breaking. We'll talk about why. But for the first time ever, going to get a chance to hear the perspective from the opposing team on Friday night, as I have been able to secure Johnny Lever, Mr. Logan Ranger, the guy who does everything for that team, to talk about the Logan Rangers perspective. And Peyton Strittmater from the RiverHawks is back to tell us a little bit about how they're preparing for the Rangers. It's ARC week, a big deal in lacrosse. It's been a big deal for a long time. We'll talk about some of the history of the ARC and some of the history of this rivalry. But first of all, thank you both for joining me for this very historic interview.
Thanks for having us.
Sure.
So I have questions for both of you. This might be a little bit longer interview than we're used to. I try to keep them under 10 minutes, but this one's a big one. And so I'm excited to ask you both a lot of questions. I'm going to start with Johnny. Johnny, first of all, first non-Central athlete ever to be featured on the YouTube channel. And there's a good reason for that. It's because I want people to know what a great kid you are. You're an amazing athlete. Also a student in the Health Science Academy, so I've got to know you that way. And you are an amazing student. We're going to talk about how you excel in the classroom a little bit after we talk about football. But Johnny, I'm a 1996 graduate of Central High School. I've been a RiverHawk, a Red Raider my whole life. But this is the first time these last 4 years that I've been rooting for those Logan Rangers. And it's because of you. I was saying that I remember coming to your game when you first were on the varsity, and people at Logan were saying, why is Nami George here? Well, I was there to support Johnny Lever because I am a big fan. People should know that Peyton and Johnny are also very, very good friends outside of school, even though they go to rivalry schools. And Johnny used to play at Longfellow with Peyton, 7th and 8th grade. And I was thinking back to those days, remembering Peyton as the quarterback throwing the ball as far as he could, and Johnny going up and making play after play for that 7th and 8th grade Longfellow team. That was fun to watch. Fun to reminisce about some of those memories. But Johnny, let's talk about football this year. You're coming off a huge win, 49-14 over Holman. Kept your playoff eligibility hopes alive with that win. That was really an elimination game in a lot of aspects. You needed to win that game. You talk about must win. That was definitely a must win for you guys. What did Johnny Lever do in that game? He had a pretty good game. 3 for 3 passing for 57 yards. 20 carries for 204 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 14-yard touchdown reception, so 3 total touchdowns, and then he had 8 tackles on the defense as well. Holy cow, Johnny Lever, they had no answer for you. What was the key to your success against those Holman Vikings?
Well, the biggest thing was just our team working as one big unit and being able to do their job, especially against Holman being an option team. Like, we had our contain guys on defense forcing the ball into me, so I was able to make plays and get tackles there. And just our entire offensive line played phenomenally, and our receivers did a great job blocking too. So they helped me be untouched on a lot of my runs, which kept me fresh. And when everyone does their job, good things happen. And I think that last game was a good showing of that.
Football, the ultimate team sport. You need everybody pulling the rope in the same direction in order to be successful, and you hit on that. Peyton, we were at Sparta last week, 15-8 win. Not the prettiest win we've ever had, but it's a victory nonetheless, and you'll take any victory we can get. You had the game-clinching interception as they were driving to try to tie the game up, so you came up with the big play. What were your thoughts on last week's game?
Well, even though the offense wasn't getting in a great groove that we wanted before the game, the defense still stepped up and helped them out there. And we don't look at the offense and say, oh, you guys had a bad game or anything like that. We just look at them and say, we got your back and we're going to do what it takes to get it done. So we're not pointing fingers at anybody. We're just going to get our job done and do our responsibility and worry about our team.
Yeah, and throughout the course of the season, there's going to be games like that where you just need to find a way to get a victory. And as I said on the broadcast, get on the bus and go home. It wasn't our best night, but we were able to get through with a W, and you guys were able to do that. And that's what playing football is all about and being successful in this league. Let's jump back over to Logan, talk to Johnny here. Johnny, I was researching your team a little bit. Your overall record is 3-5. So as an observer from the outside, you'd say, below 500, they're not very good. However, if you dive into those statistics, you find out that 4 of your 5 losses are by 1 score. I think 2 of them are by a point and one's by 2 points, if I remember right. you could very easily be a 7-1 team at this point. If the ball bounces a different way in those games, you could be 7-1 and sitting right where the RiverHawks are. I have a question about those heartbreaking losses. The RiverHawks had a heartbreaking loss. It kind of galvanized them. They've come together and, as a team and kind of refocused. Has that done that for you too? Those close losses are tough. Has that built resiliency within your Logan Ranger team?
Yeah, I definitely think it has. Just building the camaraderie and stuff, like being able to work through all those tough times together and stuff like that. And I mean, at the beginning of the season, we lost two really close ones to the Eau Clairs, and then we came back and beat Sparta, and it was like we didn't know what winning felt like at that point. So that was just like a really good bonding experience for us. And then we kept it rolling there, and just we also lost a close game to Anna, and then we went on a little cold streak there in the middle of the season. But then when we picked back up winning against Holman, it felt the same way. Like it's just great for our morale to be able to come back with wins and stuff like that. So I think having low points makes the high points just that much better for us.
Says a lot about you, your team, and Coach Noble for being able to keep you guys up and ready after those heartbreaking losses. I know the sick feeling you get in your stomach when you have losses like that. And so it takes a lot to be able to bounce back up and get ready to play that next Friday. You guys have been able to do that. Obviously able to do that against Holman last week with the big victory. Peyton, the defense has been tested a lot these last 2 weeks, Holman and Sparta, in the sense that you've been having to defend a short field, whether it was kick returns, punt returns, or offensive miscues that have caused us to have to defend a short field. And the defense has actually held up and done really well in those short field situations. What's the key for the defense in those short field situations to experience that success?
Well, when we get out there, one thing that I mainly say is that it's time to show them who we are. So it's time to like dig deep and get some perseverance, because that's a big part of our team. Just pushing through when times are tough, and it's just a great way to prove our character and really prove to the MVC who we are by coming up with those stops.
Absolutely. Johnny, jumping back to the Logan Rangers, this offense is a powerhouse. The highest scoring offense in the MVC, 32.5 points a game. Holy cow. And I see Peyton going, ooh, 32.5 points. That's a lot of points. Highest scoring offense in the MVC. What has been the key to your offensive success this year as a team?
Well, this year we have a lot of playmakers that we can get the ball to, and the coaches have been doing a good job of keeping the ball spread around and just keeping the defenses guessing. But I think the story of our team the past 2-3 years when I've been on the team have just been the offensive line. We run behind our big guys, and they do a great job. They work as one unit, and they help us win games. And without them, we couldn't do anything. So I'd say we have it's kind of a two-headed monster there with our playmakers and our big guys down the line.
Man, I love that you mentioned the offensive line. They don't get a lot of love during the broadcast, but I'll tell you, you can't do anything without an offensive line. Those guys are important. Defensive line too. Those guys are important, even though they don't get all the spotlight. Okay, so strength of Logan, that offense, 32.5 points a game. Central's defense allows the least amount of points in the MVC per game at 15.7. So you're talking about strength on strength Friday. If you're not excited about this game, you don't understand football. This is going to be a knockdown, drag them out fight. 15.7 points a game the RiverHawks are allowing. Peyton, we don't have to give away any secrets, but are we going to be able to hold this Logan Ranger offense down?
I don't want to get in any smack talk, but it's definitely our goal. So we're going to be working all week to get that to happen.
That's all we can ask, right? You're going to do whatever you can, and Johnny's going to do whatever he can to keep that 32.5 points a game going. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Peyton, I wanted to ask you, Friday night, the weather looks bad. So we're talking a high of 47 the last I looked. Lots of rain, almost like a driving rain all day long. We're playing on a turf at UWL. When it's weather like that, we've had a couple nights like that. When it's weather like that, who does that impact more? Do you think it impacts the offense more or the defense?
I would say it probably impacts the offense more because, it's harder to throw the ball around when it's wet. But I think Jude has done a good job of, when it is wet, being able to throw it still. We've had a couple of wet games, and we've still had a couple of good completions. Aaron's been able to catch it. Henry's been able to catch it. And a couple other guys have been making some plays when it was wet out. And then going to the defense, it's since the other offense is in a little bit of a disadvantage with the ball being slippery, it's definitely a driving point to knock that ball out and get punches on that ball and try and turn over on downs. So it's definitely a something that we could look forward to. It could be a strength that we play into. So we're just excited to play no matter what the weather conditions are.
Yeah, you mentioned Jude being able to throw the ball. I was really impressed with Jude's ability at home, and that was a really windy night, if you remember. And he was able to make some pretty good throws through that wind. We saw Holman try and throw the ball through that wind, and it did not go well at all for them. So, as you said, Jude handles the bad weather pretty well. Johnny, you like playing in the bad weather, or you prefer to have 60 and sunny?
I mean, I don't think anyone prefers 47 and rainy over 60 and sunny, but I mean, it is what it is, and I love football. And you talk about smash mouth football, 47 and rainy is going to give that to you. So that's something that I'm excited for. And kind of like Peyton said, like it'll affect our teams, but each team will have a chance to capitalize on those opportunities that the rain will create. So I think it's just whoever plays the better game that night.
Absolutely. And you talk about the weather, it's equal on both sides. If it's rainy and wet for us, it's rainy and wet for them too. Both teams have to deal with that. All right. I like talking football with you guys. Well, I got one more question for you, Johnny. I guess I should ask this, and then I want to talk about your personal lives a little bit. We noticed with the Logan Rangers that they have a lot of guys that play both ways, and that might be out of necessity just because Logan doesn't have as many football players out. But there are some pros and cons to that. What are some of the pros and cons of having guys that play both ways? You're one of them.
Well, I think there are a lot of pros to it more than a lot of people would assume at first glance. Like obviously you get a little bit more tired and there's just a lot more to worry about, but playing both ways you stay in the game and locked in and you're warm the whole time, which could help in a colder game. And it just makes you more of a football player all in all, I would say. Like you're able to understand concepts a little bit more than some of our players would be able to if they were just playing one way. And I think that really can help us at sometimes. And just moving players around can help in future years too. Like we have plenty of players that are seniors this year that didn't play the same position last year, but just because they're able to move around and play different spots, it makes them a versatile player.
For sure. And I'll tell you what, if I have a Johnny Lever on my team, he's never leaving the field. I don't care if we're on offense, defense, or special teams. He's staying out there, and I'm sure Coach Noble feels the same way. All right, Peyton, I forgot to ask you last time we had our interview, what are your plans next year? You're a senior. You're not going to be at Central anymore. What are you thinking? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do?
Well, I've been thinking for a while, and I can't. It's hard to make a decision because it's like the rest of your life after college. So you want to make the right choice. But a couple places maybe was St. Thomas. I actually went there with Johnny. His brother goes there. We stayed a night. We had a great time there. I love the campus there. Maybe not for sports really, but like Madison. Maybe for sports, St. John's. Me and Johnny also talk about that too. And then somewhere like anywhere within like a 4-hour driving distance is an option that I've definitely been looking at. And then like the engineering side of things, I like math, so to go into something that I really like is a goal. And then to get paid to do something I like, that's the life. So
that is the key to life. Get paid to do something you like getting paid to teach and talk to you guys. That's what I like to do. And so I have the best job in the world, but you can get the second best job in the world by finding a math job that you like and getting paid. You'll probably get paid a lot more than I do, so that'll be good. Johnny, we got to talk about you. Okay, great athlete, great football player, great baseball player. We didn't talk about baseball, all that stuff. I want to talk about you in the classroom. You're a member of the HSA. You are a phenomenal student and very, very diligent with your schoolwork. But you recently found out that you are a National Merit Scholar semifinalist. To put that in perspective for the viewers out there, less than 1% of all seniors in the United States are semifinalists for the National Merit Scholar. Tell us about that process and kind of where you're at with that.
So yeah, we took the PSAT last year, and based on your score, you can qualify to compete for the National Merit Scholarship. So I was able to qualify for that, and so I had to fill out paperwork and get my application in for that, write an essay, which is never that much fun, but it is what it is. I'm very excited for the opportunity, and so I got all that stuff submitted, and then we just wait for the finalist stage, and then if you actually are one of the recipients of the scholarship. So that's something that I've been excited for.
So obviously, good luck with that. but just becoming a semifinalist is quite a accomplishment in and of itself. And so congratulations, even if you're not selected for that next round. Holy cow, less than 1% of all seniors. And Johnny is right there. And like I said, I can tell you from Johnny in the classroom, that doesn't surprise me at all. All right, I got one final question for both of you. It's a big question. And then I have a little bit of a surprise for you. So the question is, we'll go Johnny first. What would beating the RiverHawks on Friday night and taking that arc back to the north side and taking it to Ranger Drive, what would that mean for you and your teammates?
I mean, everyone's been on both sides of it. We all know how it feels to win the arc, and there's nothing like it. We won it my freshman year. All I did was hold kicks, and it was still one of the best nights of my life. So, I mean, playing in the game and winning it would be really, really special for me, especially going out as a senior. I made sure not to touch it my freshman year. So if I can get my hands on it, that's my big goal. And, you know, just playing against some of your best friends out there on the field and with your other best friends, like there's nothing like it. So at the end of the day, it's just a great night, and it's really special for anyone playing on the field. So I'm just excited for it.
All right. That was a pretty conservative answer. We'll see if Peyton is not conservative as well. Peyton, what would it mean to you if you beat the Rangers on Friday night and were able to keep that arc on the south side?
Well, like you said, it's super special, and we're going to look back at this game for, you know, the rest of our lives. So to come out on the winning end and to be able to look back at it with some pride is going to be a big driving factor for a reason to give your heart in this game. So, yeah.
It's a big deal, isn't it? It's been a big deal in this town for a long time. 1928, in fact, was the first arc game. So we'll do some arc history here in a little bit. But before we get to that, I have a surprise. But Peyton, I want you to go get your dad, Tad, because he always has to join our broadcast. So get that, bring him in.
Dad.
Hey, Tad.
What's up, Debbie?
We can't have an interview without you in there. So thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure talking to Nami.
All right. Are you guys ready for the surprise that I got?
I've been pacing the whole way.
Look at what I have in my house right now. I have the Ark of Victory in my man cave.
That is awesome.
Isn't that awesome? Look here. It's got, the woodwork is pretty phenomenal. It's got the date of 1928, has both schools on it. And then inside is newspaper clippings from the games, previous games that have happened. And Coach Olson was gracious enough to let me bring it home so I could show it on the interview tonight. And I got some history. I went through and did some research today that I thought was pretty interesting. So I wanted to tell you guys about this. This is stuff that former Logan AD Jordan Gilligy found out. And so I want to cite my source. My English teachers taught me to always cite my source, so I don't want to steal his stuff. But he did some research on it. This will be the 98th meeting between Logan and Central on Friday night. This rivalry's been going on since 1928. The overall series, Central has 49 wins, Logan has 40 wins, and there's been 8 ties. Isn't that amazing how even that is over 97 years? 49, 40, and 8 is the record. No team has ever won it more than 6 years in a row. So there's never been a winning streak longer than 6. Central won it in 1928 and 1929. Logan won it for the first time in 1930. And then Logan held Central scoreless from 1930 until 1935. 5 years of shutouts. Unfortunately for Logan, 34 and 35, they held them scoreless, but they also didn't score themselves. So it was 0-0 ties in 34 and 35. A little bit different football. I don't think we're going to see a 0-0 score Friday night. Central, let's see. Central has had the upper hand the last, 5 out of the last 6 years. They've had the arc with the only win for Logan coming Johnny's freshman year. He mentioned it. That was 20-10 victory for Logan. That was in the spring season. Remember, we had COVID. And so it was a goofy season. We had like 6 games in the spring. And Central actually had a really good season that year. I think they were 5-0 going into that game, and Logan was able to upset them, something like that, to steal the arc. And that was a big win, obviously, for Logan. Looking recent history, of course, Central won it last year, 34-26, 2021, 42-20. Logan with the 20-10 win in 2020 that we talked about. 2019, 33-6 Central. 2018, 22-10. There's a lot of history that's with this thing. If you win it, I encourage you to open it up and look at some of those articles. It's pretty interesting to see. I love the woodwork on it. If you get a chance to look at that, because it shows football players from 1928 wearing their leather helmets and all of their 1928 gear that they wore for football back then. The game has changed quite a bit, but I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. Tad, are you fired up for this Friday or what?
Let's go, huh? I mean, this is what it's all about, man. Chicago Packers. The weather's going to be great, Nami. They're going to be talking about this for years to come. Johnny, great to see you. Nami, keep up the great work. I am so fired up. This is huge. Woo! Let's go.
I figured you were fired up, Tad. Thank you.
Thank you, Nami.
All right, Peyton, I got to thank you for joining us tonight. Johnny, you made history on the Central YouTube channel. I got to thank you. Imagine hearing somebody else's YouTube broadcaster saying, hey, will you interview on our channel? Who would want to do that? Johnny was like, yes, absolutely. Get me on there. I want to be able to talk. So here's what I'm going to say. Obviously, RiverHawk fan, I'm rooting for the RiverHawks, but biggest thing, no injuries on Friday. Okay. Both teams, Johnny was just mentioning off air that even with a loss, they're playoff eligible. Possibly they could get selected. Wouldn't that be awesome if both teams were able to make the playoffs? No injuries. Let's just get out of this healthy and move on to the next game. Johnny, don't forget, every year we do this, win, lose, or draw. We got to get a picture after the game. So make sure you're hanging around. If you guys win the ARC, maybe you can hold it in the picture with me so that I at least, because Zach won't be holding it. So at least I'll have somebody holding it with me in the picture. So good luck to both of you. This is a game. I like watching it, but it's a hard one to watch because there's so many good people that there's good people on anytime we're playing, but there's so many people that I know and so many kids that are so great on both sides that you hate to see anybody disappointed. But let's just have a good game, no injuries, and good luck Friday night. Viewers, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the special interview tonight. It went a little bit longer than usual, but we had to talk with these guys a little bit. Zach told me it's bad luck to have the ARC in the house, so he told me I have to take it out into the garage and when I'm done with the interview. So it's going out in the garage. It will not stay in the George household overnight, so don't worry about that, Peyton. We won't jinx it. Viewers, we have volleyball coming up tomorrow night. Logan Central Volleyball. So that's a big matchup for both of those teams. Logan got the better of Central the first time up at Logan. Central looking to try to rebound after their loss last night to Sparta. And so that will be first serve is at 7 o'clock. Joel McCall will be on the call first at 6:45. We'll have the VR game on at 5:30. I have parent-teacher conferences till 8, but as soon as my parent-teacher conferences get done, I'll get down to the gym and join the broadcast as well. So hopefully a good volleyball game. And then Friday night, it's on. We're at UWL, senior night, parent night, a little bit of everything, but most importantly, ARC night. And we'll see who can come away with the ARC of victory, get it out of my basement and over to one of those schools to be on display for the year. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Have a good night.